Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to be giving you guys some of my impressions of Crew 2. Now obviously the game is still in beta mode, so technically things can still change, but it is currently June 24th, and the game comes out, if I remember correctly, the 29th. So there's not a whole lot of time for things to change. So this, I feel like, is going to be a fairly accurate representation of the game and give you guys a no, should I buy it. I personally went ahead and pre-ordered the gold edition of the game. Sadly I won't be able to get to play it the day it comes out due to work, but I'm going to go ahead and take you guys through some things, show you a little bit about the game if you guys haven't looked at it, and kind of give you by-word comparison of other racing games that have come out recently and how I feel like this stacks up to it. So, first of all, if you guys don't know what the Crew is, or Crew 2, it is a sort of open-world racing game. It takes place in a map that is absolutely massive. It spans the entire United States. And you hit these racing events, you can race against other players, you can join a crew and play with your friends online, and it's a ton of fun. It's got some really good driving mechanics. The cars drive very well, which obviously you'd hope they would, because what's the point of a racing game if it has bad driving mechanics? And this has a wide expanse of driving. This game covers 3 different forms of vehicle. There's land vehicles, as you can see. This is my collection so far, and there's subclasses within land vehicles. There's these are 2 street racing cars that I have. There's the drift car, because there are drift events. I'll give you guys a brief view of that. It's very cool. The cars drive actually really coolly, and there's a couple of little neat details that I personally think are really cool. As a car guy, I think they're cool. There's drag racing. Now currently the beta does not offer any drag racing, but I bought a drag car just for fun. There's off-road racing within this is the free buggy that you get at the very beginning for playing through the playthrough. And then later you get a truck if you do more of the races. So the off-road racing is very cool. There's motorcycles. There are street bikes and dirt bikes. I bought a dirt bike for that because it's one of the events. I'll get to the activities in just a second. There's different, and this is where it gets interesting. This is where it becomes a different type of game. There's boats, which is sort of new and different. This is the small little proto jet boats. And then there's the big, like, cigarette-style boats. You know, the several thousand horsepower boats. And then there's airplanes, which, again, is something not seen in a lot of, or really any racing games at all, most of them are dedicated to a particular style of racing. And this game kind of wanted to do a jack-of-all-trades thing. And like the jack-of-all-trades, master of none, this game is sort of like that. It's not really... boats and cars, I feel, handled very well, and it's not a terribly hard mechanic to transfer, in my opinion. You know, boats, and it's a 2-plane existence. So, you know, the stick, you can see it turns you left and right, and it's not very different. Down there in the bottom left on the HUD, basically, you'll be able to see there's a circle that surrounds my speedometer. And so what this does is it's sort of like motorcycles in other games, where if you use the left stick to trim the motor out, and so if you pull all the way back, what it does is it picks the front of the boat up and allows you to travel faster. Now you have to hold down on the stick. You can't just pull it all the way back and set it at a certain trim. And if you push all the way forward, it dives the front of the boat down a little bit and makes you go slower. So this is my max speed. I have it pinned, so as you can see. But the boats, they cool. The water, it becomes more choppy as you move out into the ocean. As you can see, So pulling back and getting the back to kind of sit on it and just riding through the waves. Really cool. And boats handle pretty well. You can jump them, you know, through little jumps in the race, or you can at certain points. Skim across land. So that's kind of a little overview of boats for the most part. Obviously they have nitrous, stuff like that, and there's many boats you can buy and play as. And so, you know, if that suits your fancy. My brother is a particular fan of racing boats because boat mechanic racing is a little different. There are some things you have to watch for that aren't in street racing. Like if you're driving behind another boat, you can hit the wake of the boat in front of you, and it can make you go slower and can mess up where you're going. So the jet boat is very much the same. It's a little bit slower of a boat, but it's much better at skimming across land because there's no propeller. As you can see, it's very small, and it handles more like a jet ski. It gets on top of the water when you get going fast, and then it dives really hard in the turns. So those are two boat races that you can do, or types of boat racing that we currently have available to us in the beta. And then airplane. So I'll just go ahead and give you a brief little thing with the airplanes. So, you know, you have this smoke, which is kind of cool. So planes, it's all in the left stick. If you've ever played any other plane games, sometimes they break it up a little bit. But this game is pretty much all on the left stick. Pulling back goes up, pushing forward goes down. You know, you roll. And then the only other like sort of like steering mechanic you have, because in the right stick it's all camera, which isn't like terrible. I personally, my favorite playing game is War Thunder, and so I have a hard time playing other playing games because their particular style of control of planes is very comprehensive and in depth, and gives you a really finite control over a plane without being overly complicated. But the other thing you have is you have a rudder control, which they call it air drifting for some reason, but you could in theory use it to kind of help you snap turn quicker. But you get points for doing different things, and different points allow you to get more followers. So this is kind of where the game gets a little bit new and weird and becomes very much a modern game of 2018. This game is all about racing and social media. So the whole point of the game is basically you are playing and you do races. You kind of start out lowly, just like every other racing game. You're very much not you're not the top of the line racer or whatever. You might be skill wise, but you're not that into the view of the public. So the whole idea is you do different events, do different races to gain more followers, which will in turn boost your view in the public, which will open up new activities. So onto activities to kind of give you a brief thing. So right now these are the 5 things we have available to us. You have street racing, off-road, freestyle, and pro racing. And so all of them are a little bit different. As you can see, it gives you a brief little like synopsis of what you're allowed to do in it. In the street racing, we currently only have but like street type driving and drifting available to us. Drag racing and hypercar are currently locked. So within that, you have several street races you're allowed to do on normal or hard difficulty. Each race gives you followers or money. So and then you can change the difficulty, giving you more followers or more money, but you have to be a fairly high level to actually competitively compete in a hard race. I am just getting to that point, and you can see I'm still under the level. But as you can see, there's a ton of other races that will be available to you once the full game comes out. And so here's where we get into kind of the brick wall of the beta. You're only allowed to hit, let's see if it'll let me, yeah, okay, so you're only allowed to hit popular. So you basically start out at like normal, and then you get to like I don't remember what the steps is per se, but you level up and you hit popular, and then that unlocks all the races for you, and then you brick wall at 46,499 followers, and you're not allowed to move on to famous, and therefore most races, or some races, are hidden behind the wall, and so you're not allowed to play until the full game comes out, which I guess is okay. So in the there's rally type racing, as you can see, the off-road, motocross, but rallycross, which obviously I don't really know how it's going to be, but it would typically be a long road course type over several different surfaces. That is what rallycross is. But the raid type races, you're off-roading, jumping, stuff like that. Motocross is actually like dirt track stuff. The two races we have available are dirt track, sort of like stadium style supercross, and so they're both kind of cool. Motorcycle mechanics aren't that bad. You can wheelie and stuff like that, and you can control your character in the air. There is no, as far as I can tell, there's no leaning or sort of shifting your weight to tuck behind to go faster. And then there's this freestyle one, which is all about doing. The races are more about tricks, and it's not about like going fast per se. And so the two we have available are the plane aerobatics, which is the aerobatics plane you just saw me fly. Which this is okay. It gives you a set of tricks that you can do, basically one sheaf at a time, and allows you to perform the tricks. You get points for them, and you have to get a certain number of points to win. So there's like 6 sets of tricks, and then every time you complete a packet of tricks, you get like 25 seconds to do freestyle and do whatever kind of trick you want, and then you go back into trying to do the tricks again that they give you. And then there's the Pro Series, which I guess is what I'm going to call it, because I don't really... Does it give you... Okay, Pro Racing, yeah. So this is like all more track-based and higher speeds, and what we don't have available to us is Grand Prix, Formula 1 type cars, or air racing. But we do have touring car, and we do have powerboat. Both are very fun. Powerboat and jet boat racing is kind of similar. The only major difference is most of the powerboat races are against other NPCs, whereas jet boat racing tends to be against, or jet sprint boat racing tends to be against time-based things. So it's kind of a synopsis of how this is working. As you can see, the cars in the bottom of it, the McLaren, the helicopter, this hovercraft, and then the Vulcan, those are all cars that you can eventually win by earning enough reputation within the race series to face the ultimate guy, and that guy, once you beat him, will give you his car. So that's kind of cool. We don't have it available to us, obviously, as you can see. And then there's this Extreme, which I'm guessing is going to be like
cool.
How
this
the...
event is available. What's not so cool, though, is that it's still locked. You want to unlock it? Just make sure you have all the required vehicles and you're golden.
So this is going to be... This is a race that takes place with 3 different vehicles that it shows, and so it kind of reminds me vaguely of... In Crew 1, there was the big event that you could go do and have all different types of cars available to drive them with. So these are the live Extreme events. And everything is live for some reason because the game, it's social media, whatever. Cars, you can... Well, basically all vehicles you can customize to some degree. Whether you change their paint jobs or you actually get to bolt on pieces like spoilers or stuff like that. It's not as intensive as, say, like Need for Speed or something, but it is pretty cool. They give you a lot of options for a game like this. And then there's the performance upgrades, which it took me a few seconds to, really figure it out, a few minutes. But basically, there are 3 different tiers available to you. There is the green tier, the blue tier, and then the purple tier. And as you win races or find packages in the open world, you will get parts. And then the higher, basically it takes an average of all the numbers you see in front of you right here, and then that is your level, your perf level. The car has a max perf level, which is kind of capping it to what kind of races it'll be available to. Right now, nothing is over 230. So if you hit 280, that would be, you'd be far ahead what you need to be. So basically, green parts have no perks, but obviously they act as a bridgeway to better parts. Blue parts have 1 perk, and so if you hit your touchpad, if you're playing PlayStation, you'll be able to see. So each of these perks, they give you a nominal advantage, in my opinion. They don't really... I feel like they're not... not that important at this point until you get, you know, your car sort of maxed out, and then I feel like maybe they'll be, you know, might give you an edge. And then purple parts give you 2, or epic tier parts give you 2, so 2 perks. So these are all the races we have available to us, and then outside of racing you can also do, I forgot to mention, within the activity bar you can see, bear with me for a second, there are skills available to you, just like in the original game. There's open world skills that you can go in and do, where those would be speed traps, escapes, and then I think there's some jumps that you can do for depending on what you're doing. And they're available all over the map in all 4 different disciplines of driving, or disciplines of racing in the game, offered in the game. So that gives you some other things to do. And then there's a massive catalog of cars available to you. This is, in my opinion, the fastest way to find what you want if you're looking for a specific model of car, because, you know, obviously alphabetical order, you can find the cars, and you buy them pre-made, unlike the first game. So in Crew 1, you would buy, say, a base model car, and then you'd take it to a shop and get a rendition of it done in whatever you wanted, whether it was a monster truck or a perf car, drift car, drag car, you know, track car, dirt, raid, so on and so forth. So instead, so far, cars are offered to you in the like pre-made status. You're not going to be able to break them out of what they are. So like this car is only offered in rally and in street. And then there's you know, other ones. An easy way to find, if you're looking to go by event based, you can go to your map, and there are headquarters for each of the 4 disciplines of racing. There is the Pro Series HQ, which gives you cars that are only available in pro racing, so touring cars, F1 cars, so on and so forth. There's the Dirt HQ, which gives you only motocross bikes and rally cars and raid cars. There's the Freestyle headquarters, which gives you only jet sprint boats, acrobatic airplanes, and I totally forgot what the last racing event is. I think it's, actually it might only be jet sprints, and the street cars give you obviously drag, drift, hypercar, and street racing. So I'm gonna run through a race real quick, just kind of give you guys a visual of the driving. I know I've done a lot of talking and not a whole lot of showing off of what the vehicles can do. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into a street race here, and I'll take you first on the ground with my drift car to briefly show off the drift mechanics, because I wanted to show that I don't really want to do a drift event right now. So we'll go ahead and select my drift car. So it's something I found really cool, and I said that I thought was a really cool little attention to detail in the game, is the angle and the camber on the car. Now, not a lot of games, or not a lot of drifting type games really pay attention to that. So it's very cool that they include the camber, and so you can really see drift angle and stuff like that, which is a thing in the real life. Now, obviously, this isn't as good as what it would be in real life. The drift angle is slightly off. So if you're going for complete realism, it's not great, because your contact patch at full sideways, at full tilt, is not straight up and down like it would, like the whole point of having negative camber. But it's very cool that they added such a thing. So drift cars kind of float, just like in the other games, and you tend to sway, but the camera sways behind it. Drifting is in my opinion, very easy, very comprehensive in this game, and the drifting events are very doable in the tracks, and with a little bit of practice, you can really get the hang of it. It is very much a doable thing. The counter steering, braking, all of that is very important in this. It's a fairly well done drifting mechanic, and the drift cars do handle differently than street cars. So you can't go out in your street car and really practice with it, you'll have to do it only with your drift car. So, and then we'll go back to a street selective, a street car, and then the fastest way, in my opinion, to find an activity is to hit pause and go to the activity menu, and then you can select a race to do that way. So, some races like this one will lend you a vehicle. I've already beat them on hard. I'm trying to do all the races on hard mode now that I've done them in easy mode, just to give myself something else to do. I have beaten all of the races except for the 2 touring car races, and I'm about to buy a touring car as soon as I can afford it. This confused me very much at first. So basically the way you enter a race is there'll be a set of gates. Street races are parking garages, and so if you teleport to it, it gives you this little menu. I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Is it saying it's initiating the race? Basically, all you have to do is you can switch your vehicle right here, and then either hit circle to close the menu, or you drive all the way to the end of the gate, and it'll open up and initiate the race. You drive to the start line, it'll line you up, and you're ready to race. If you're playing in a crew with friends, it'll shoot out invites to friends and let them decide whether or not they want to play and not start the race until all friends have decided what they're doing, or the event or the invite times out. So, like I said, racing and driving mechanics in this game are very good. I feel the cars feel kind of heavy sometimes.
How'd you wind up so far back?
And the driving feel a little sluggish, almost. Not sluggish, but like things are responsive, but there's a lot of cars feel very heavy, which isn't a bad thing. It's just something you have to get used to depending on what game you're playing or what you're coming from. The AI offer a fairly decent, in my opinion, very decent competitiveness. Obviously on hard mode they are much harder. They're not as smart as a real driver, given, it's kind of impossible. They do tend to pick very fast lines and take shortcuts when they're available, depending on what difficulty you are racing against in that. And they don't make mistakes very often. They very rarely hit buildings. Usually the front of the pack is the better of the two, and the pack tends to stay the same throughout the whole race, and no matter how many times you race it. The first couple of guys will almost always be the first couple of guys, and the people who are in the back of the pack tend to stay at the back of the pack. There's usually not a whole lot of change unless you are the one to introduce it. Every race so far has been basically a 2-lap circuit. I have not played a single street race that is not a 2-lap circuit. It doesn't really tell you there's laps, it just tells you that you're halfway done with the race. But it took me a minute or two, but really all you're doing is driving the same track twice. There's really no deviation from that track. Jumps, I feel, slow you down, and this is another part where I say cars feel heavy. It's because they hit the ground so fast. They don't fly through the air really. There's not a whole lot of aerial. You don't have a whole lot of aerial control. The cars just jump and then slam right back down. There's not a whole lot of elegance to it per se. Not that there has to be. This isn't a game about jumping cars. It's a game about racing cars. The jumps do also make you slower. I found that if you can avoid a jump and go around it without making too big of a deviance, you can really make up time. I found a couple of bugs in sidewalks and stuff where they weirdly fall away or kind of dip into the road a weird angle. But like here, you'll kind of see that was a pretty decent float of a jump. Like usually it's not quite so airy of a jump. And it felt like that in motocross too when I was doing the motocross races. You just sort of hit the ground really hard and really quickly. Now that I've given you guys sort of a overview of the game, it's time to kind of put a final say on it and what I think of it. And not that you should really invest anything in my opinion, but as a person who is a big fan of racing games, a person who puts a lot of time into racing games, I've played a lot of racing games. I beat The Crew 1, I beat Need for Speed Payback, I beat a lot of the old Need for Speeds. Midnight Club was a huge game that I played as a kid, all the way from PS2 to PlayStation 3 until I bought my PS4. So it's a big, racing games have been a big part of my video game growth. And so I say this game is actually definitely worth it. It's going to be very cool, and as long as it keeps getting bigger and they keep offering more events, it's going to be worth it. Because in your pilot you can see, let's see, timeline I think is where, there's one where you can view the status. Yeah, it's timeline. And this kind of gives me hope that there's going to be a lot available to drivers, because there's the rookie, popular, famous, star, and then icon. So it kind of almost works like a Call of Duty. Forgive me for saying that, but like a Call of Duty of prestige mode type thing. Because once you hit icon 1, you get the Camaro, and that's basically hitting like level 100, and then it keeps going, and so you get a loot crate basically at every 10 levels after that, and it keeps going. And I scrolled for a little while, and so basically at 100 you'll get this, 200 you'll get a plane, 300 is the the off-road, and then I'm pretty sure you get a touring car for your last. No, okay, I was wrong again. There's a touring car, and I think the touring car is the last one, because they only offer so many. And so okay, so once you get past this Ferrari, the LaFerrari, which you can buy all these vehicles in game. You don't have to wait for them for the icon level. But as far as I can tell, you don't have to wait for the icon level. They give you a tag price where you can buy it, or you can just level up and get it. But this goes for at least 2,000. 2,500 is where I scrolled to. So it gives me hope that they're expecting people to play this game for a long time, and therefore will be putting out more and more content. There is a season pass, kind of a bummer, but if you buy the gold edition, the season pass is included. The former game season pass was $25, and in my opinion it was kind of a tiny bit of a scam, because you bought the season pass and it gave you everything that was out then, but you didn't get future DLCs. Looking at the scroll bar, if I had to guess, I'd say this goes to 10,000. But you didn't get future DLCs, and you had to buy them separately, and so that kind of upset me a little bit. And so I'm hoping they don't mess it up and do that with this. I'm hoping it's like a one-time $25 fee, and you'll be getting, or $30 fee, and you'll be getting all future expansions. Maybe not giving you card packs. I mean, I kind of understand them not handing out card packs, but I would like to see them, giving you a lot of expansions. One thing I have not seen in this game to this point is police. Now, there are sort of hints and talks about police in some of the street racing. They talk about how it is illegal, and that, something like that, and it's budget racing and people doing it on the street, but they say they want to go legit. So I'm curious as if police will show up. In The Last Crew, an entire DLC was dedicated to police. So I'm curious to see where it goes from there. So 9,990 is the final package you'll get. It looks like every time you open a package, it'll be for whatever car you are currently driving or currently have equipped. So, but I'm curious to see if they do anything with police. I personally have been severely disappointed in the police and their presence in a lot of recent racing games. The Crew one had an okay police thing. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. It wasn't that fun. You basically could outrun the police very quickly, and very rarely was it a challenge. I don't know why, but everybody loved. Well, I do know why. Everybody loves the original, like, Need for Speed type racing games. They had very interactive police. Police were destructible. There were destructible environment where you were allowed to pull things down on top of them, and things got progressively more and more aggressive, and things would come in waves. It was a lot of fun. I know I spent hours running on the highway from police. I spent probably the same amount of time running from police as I did actually racing. Ton of fun. You could get them super easily, running red lights, crashing into pedestrians. It was a very fun thing. Uh, Police just haven't been like that recently. They're way too easy to get away from. They don't tend to have wave-based officer things. Need for Speed Payback, in my opinion, is kind of a letdown of a game. It's very small. It's very quick to beat. I can't tell you exactly how many hours it took me to do it, but it was not that much. Now it's kind of become just collecting cars. And then that's not that fun. Because I already have the cars, you just collect them with different types of cars. So, or not types, what's the word? Like, different discipline of car. You know, you can get the same BMW in drift, drag, so on and so forth. But police are not that interesting in that game. You can outrun them very easily. There's only 2 types of police cars, and there's either the normal squad car, or there is the one car that has a jammer on it. So other than that, it doesn't really do anything for you. And you can't get them in open world. You cannot get them called on you. No matter what you do, no matter what type of driving you're doing, you can't get them called on you unless you pick up a package and go run it to your base. And even then, there's no spike strips, there's no helicopters, there's no... all they have is they send a rhino every once in a while to try to ram you off the road. And the police give up their chase when you're within about half of a mile of your objective. They just stop trying. So I really, really, really hope that they do some sort of police action in this game, because it is a street racing game. We are street racing. This is illegal. What I am doing is illegal. And so if there's no police, no consequences, it kind of loses some of its fun. If it doesn't have it, I won't be terribly disappointed. There is a lot of track racing in the game, and they do talk about stuff about trying to be legit. So I can sort of see not having a heavy police involvement in the game. But all the same, I do recommend this game. I do think it'll be a lot of fun. It's going to give drivers a lot of opportunity to do different disciplines of racing. And this open beta is currently available until the game comes out, as far as I know. It's free to everyone, free to the public. So go ahead, download it. You can try it for yourself, see what you think. You know, is it worth your $60, your 60 hard-earned dollars? There are so many great games coming out in 2018 right now. There is a huge lineup for every type of gamer, and it's going to be really interesting seeing how if our new console, the PS5, is going to affect it, and you know what the lineup's going to be up next year, because they have released some banging games this year. Let me tell you. And they're all, you know, Skyrim, Fallout, The Division was announced. There's this game, and several other racing games across the board. So we'll see how it goes. I'm definitely gonna have a follow-up video when the game comes out full bore, after I get into it a little bit and get some things accomplished. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for checking it out. If you liked the video, go check out some of my other content. I do have other videos from racing games, and you know, all of my content is pretty much racing, or not racing. Pretty much all of my content is video games. I try to be as honest as possible. I don't get paid for this. I don't get sponsorships. There's nobody tapping on my shoulder telling me, hey, give a good review, because it's just me, my friends, and my opinions. And exactly, they are my opinions. So if you don't like them, don't listen to them. Have your own opinions. Play the games, form your own opinion. Great. It's great. Gaming is such a diverse community. There's a ton of people of all ages, two genders, and the all walks of life. It is very, very intriguing how big our community is. So now that I've divulged and kind of got on a soapbox for a few minutes, please, like, subscribe. It means a lot to me. Every subscription is a win for me. Whether you are my 10th subscriber, or if you potentially down the road, if we get better, you might be my 1000th subscriber. I don't know, but every subscription is just awesome to me. I value all of you guys. So thanks for liking. Thank you for your subscriptions. Leave comments. You know, I love hearing what you guys have to say, what you want to see next. And I'll catch you in the next one.